All right, we are back on the Extraordinary Sports Podcast with one of my favorite guests, a Chicago native and the man to know at the La Jolla Comedy Store, comedian Mike Vinn. How we doing, baby?
I'm doing good. Phenomenal. How are you?
Oh, phenomenal. One of my favorite words, baby. All right, well, I wanted to get a Chicago Bears diehard and a well-versed NFL fan and connoisseur on the mic to talk about Cutler. He's obviously the talk of the NFL town right now. Just off the top of your head, if you were to tell me, all right, as a Bears fan, you see him retire in the spring or the summer, excuse me, and now he's back in pads in the AFC East in the fall, would you have predicted this?
Well, as soon as Tannehill got hurt, I was like, they're going to grab Cutler.
Oh, wow.
I just had that gut feeling. Also, that retirement thing, that was just, they didn't want him in Chicago. He got fired. Nobody's picking him up. So he's like, hey, I'm retired. And it's like, hey, no.
So his retirement in your mind was a lot different than Romo's.
Yeah, it's like saying, hey, you're fired. He's like, no, you can't fire me. I quit.
In a classic Cutler fashion.
That's what happened. So if you can't get on the team, then you can't play. Doesn't matter if you've been in the league 5 years, 10 years, whatever. You just don't have a job. So,
right.
But yeah, when Tannehill went down, it only makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it only makes sense that they would, pair him back up with Gase.
Yeah, I'm looking at the number. I'm looking at the numbers, Mike, with Cutler and Gase 2 years ago. Little over 3,600 yards, 21 tugs, and a passer rating of 92.3. I mean, you could argue that year got Gase the promotion from coordinator to head coach, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that had to have been it. That was also Cutler's highest passer rating that year.
Right.
And I think he was also out for like 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, he was. That was the year. That was the year he went in and out of the playoff game hurt, right? Which he got a ton of flack for.
No, that was years before that.
Oh, that was years. I just never forgot that game.
Yeah, that was like shit. It's like his second or third year in Chicago.
Man.
Yeah, because the first year in Chicago, he was just horrible. It was garbage. Yeah, I remember going to San Francisco to watch him play the Niners back when Singletary was coaching the Niners. And the Niners are just garbage back then, and Cutler went for the record of the most interceptions in a game.
Oh, wow.
It was like a 13-10. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. But yeah, but Cutler's not a horrible quarterback. His numbers are pretty similar, maybe not last season's, but career-wise, if you look up Eli Manning's numbers, they're basically the same.
Yeah. He's already going viral. He's already going viral right now, Mike, on Twitter with his lackluster nonverbal expressions via the press conference.
Oh, yeah. That's another one of his problems too. He does not have that passion, that fire. Like Brett Favre is the all-time leader with interceptions, but he's regarded as one of the best quarterbacks because of his competitiveness and how amped he used to get.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah. Well, you go to a place where they haven't really put together. I mean, I know in the playoffs last year, but Miami, not a ton of pressure to win a Super Bowl every year, especially being in the AFC East with Brady. I mean, you go down there, I don't know. He's kind of playing with house money from selfishly just his point of view, wouldn't you say? I mean, he's getting 10 mil and getting a spot.
10 mil for 1 year. Yeah, he doesn't have to really do much of anything.
But I got to be honest, I'm looking at the depth chart here between Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker, Julius Thomas, Jay Ajayi.
Set of receivers.
It's not a bad. I mean, I'm a fantasy football speaking. He could definitely provide some value for these guys. And then you got Tunsil and one of the best centers in the league in Pouncey. So I mean, he might have more protection than he's been used to the last couple of years, I guess. I mean, I know your Bears line is not abysmal, but that was one of the.
It was abysmal for years, though.
It was one of the. Yeah, I know it was one of the.
It was one of the worst ones, and he was like the most sacked quarterback in the league.
Oh,
like
man.
he was just like, but he also holds onto the ball too long.
So yeah, what do you? It sounds like. I mean, I heard John Fox is pretty happy for him. As a Bears fan, are you? How do you look? Do you look at him like an X? Do you say, you know what? It's more like an ex-friend, not an ex-girlfriend. I'll root for him. Where's your point of view, since obviously you're emotionally invested in the guy for a number of years?
I think I liked Cutler. I liked Cutler. He just let you down. He's not a winner. That's his problem. So it's like, I want to see him do well. I mean, I've liked him when he was in Denver. When he had his 4,500 yard season.
Yeah.
I think it was like in 2008 or something like that. When he had that monster season, I liked watching him. I like when he's on fire. He's on fucking fire.
Is he one of those guys? Is he one of those guys, in your opinion? If he had a Parcells or a Tom Coughlin or one of those very disciplined, I only take winning for an answer type head coaches, he would have worked?
Possibly. I mean, he's had 5 different offensive coordinators his entire time in Chicago. He's never had a steady. He's always had to learn a new system every other year.
Here's a food for thought. Let's say they go 10-6. He throws between 2,500 and 3,000 yards. They get into the playoffs. Are we talking about a controversy going into the 2018 offseason between Tim and Tannehill?
Oh, that would be huge. Woo-hoo-hoo! If he gets them to the playoffs, which he has a very strong chance to do, I don't think it will happen because he has a long history of losing. It wears on you. Like when you are in college, they lost all the time. In the NFL, I think he made the playoffs once, maybe twice. You know what I mean? He has a long history of just losing.
Well, he's winning in life with that wife of his. I'll tell you that much.
That is true. That is true.
Well, it's fascinating though. You mentioned that the Wang loses on you, which I couldn't agree more. But the knock on Jay is that he almost non-verbally seems like he doesn't really care if he's winning or losing. And then you've heard guys like Kyle Long and such, then even Brandon Marshall have gone to bat for him, saying no, he does care as just his persona. But when you're in pads, this is a question I like to talk about. The difference between NFL and NBA guys is you don't see these guys' faces between pads, helmet, everything. Half of them are wearing visors. Like the nonverbal expressions on the sideline or in the huddle are paramount, I feel like, especially at the quarterback position.
Yeah, he has a horrible demeanor. When you look at him, he's always got that somebody stole my cookies look in his face. He's got just this unfazed look. Like he just doesn't care. Like he's indifferent about what he's doing. It's like he's playing football just because he's going to make a shit ton of money, and that's it. And that's what we're seeing now. Now, I like when they go to bat for him and stuff like that and say, don't ever question his toughness. This guy puts it all out there. It's like, cool, he does that, but we're not seeing that. Perception is reality, unfortunately. So, I mean, how many times have you seen him going over plays after he's fucked up? You know what I'm saying? He just stands there chewing on his goddamn mouthpiece. And for me, it's bittersweet because I love watching him play, but it's like, you know what I mean? You get those, pick up the fucking clipboard, look at it, pay attention.
That's one thing that you just notice from the greats, whether it's Breeze, Brady, Manning, they're not wasting a second during the game when the defense is on the field.
Even if they have the biggest touchdown, perfect play, they're still going over it. They're still looking at what defense is doing, what's going on, where's every head. What else they can do.
I wonder if that carries over to his personal life. I'm doing something wrong in my relationship or with whatever. And you know what? I'm not even going to look at what I did wrong. I'm just going to project onto the other person or my offensive line or my wide receiver that didn't run a correct route, etc.
Yeah. The thing about his relationship, I read that his attitude has gotten better since he got married.
Well, we talked about that. Remember when we talked about the Comedy Store bar? Because I did really want to know, with the fact that he has diabetes. I mean, you're playing a 3.5 hour, 4 hour game. Obviously, I know he has access to Gatorade and food over there, but the blood sugar drop. I mean, you're dealing with a health thing during a game that most athletes aren't. That's the one potential, loop or out that I would get.
He has a regulator that keeps his blood sugar going, and he takes it out during games. So it's got to be fucking with his head. You would think, right?
On some level. I mean, it's like you said, the raw talent. Mike Shanahan is pretty good at drafting quarterbacks, including the homie Kirk Cousins out there in Washington. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, he's got all the intangibles, all the ability in the world. It would be cool, just again, for another storyline in the NFL, which we could use a couple more here in the offseason, if he goes in and he balls out.
That would be a great one. I don't think Tannehill's that great of a quarterback.
It's almost what's fascinating about this is Tannehill's almost in the same justification category with the color fans or the color defenders. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. He's like a slightly less talented color.
with maybe a hotter wife. I don't know. That would be a heck of a Dan Patrick poll.
Who wore it better type of thing?
Who wore it better, the 5'11" blonde or the 5'7" from the former hit show Laguna Beach?
Oh, man.
Well, it'll be interesting. I did want to ask, did you think that the organization, the Dolphins, did they actually marinate on Romo at all? Or do you really think, because personally,
probably not.
Really?
Probably not. I mean, with the types of injuries that Romo has had, I don't think they thought of him at all.
Man. And I don't want to get into a political sidetrack, but do you think the Kaepernick, Fidel Castro, whatever I heard that he was representing him or supporting him, that could have been a big factor? Because honestly, Kaepernick might have been serviceable there. I mean, I'm not a complete Kaepernick hater.
He would have been serviceable there, but they want somebody who's familiar with Gase's system.
Yeah. It's
the smartest move. You know what I mean? Like Cap, I think Cap's a really good quarterback. He's better than 60% of the guys out there.
What's interesting is that it almost seems like the media, who's claiming to be on his side, is probably the one that's perpetuating this situation even more so. Like, he probably just would have went to the Ravens if it wasn't 2 weeks of storylines. Like, just have Jim call John, brother to brother, and do like when Kevin Durant made his first extension in OKC, it was a tweet. Just don't make a big deal about it. Sign him and be quiet. But what hasn't been the case. Now you're hearing Ravens fans, they're not going to sell their season tickets if he gets signed. I don't know. It's blown out of proportion.
But keep reminding everybody that didn't like what he did.
Right.
It's like apologizing too late. You're just everything's done and passed, and then you're going to apologize for doing something like a week later. It's like now you're just going to bring those feelings back up.
Good point.
Some things you just got to leave alone.
That's well said.
It's just, like, hindsight's 20/20. Obviously, he should never have opted out of his contract in San Francisco. He should have stayed there one more year and then tried to get a job.
Most definitely.
Because they had an argument that he wasn't winning. I'm a firm believer that if Alex Smith played in that Super Bowl, they would have won it.
Ooh, I love it. I love that take.
But Cap was a good quarterback. I mean, the only problem I see with Kaepernick's game is that he's constantly throwing the ball at 150 miles an hour. There's no touch to it. It's just fucking laser. Whether you're 5 yards out or you're fucking 50 yards out, it's just a laser.
That's pretty true.
Sometimes you just gotta lob it in there.
Speaking of quarterbacks, real quick while I have you, we got NFC North to talk for a second. You're observing the quarterback battle up in Chi-Town. You got Trubisky, you got Glennon. Who do you want to see out of the gate, or at least for the preseason to come out?
I want to see Glennon start for 2 years.
Oh wow!
I think they. Okay, here's the problem with the Bears quarterbacks. They have way too fucking many of them. They signed last year's third string. They signed Butt Fumble. They fucking signed Glennon. And they fucking moved up and drafted. They've got 4 quarterbacks. Like, what are you doing?
We learned from the Jets last year. If you have 4 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
I'm surprised they didn't sign Kaepernick and just had a fucking full house. Like, I want to see Glennon's going to start. I want to see only people I want to see on the field are Glennon or Trubisky.
I like it. I think Glennon's probably the move out of the gate. I mean, he was serviceable in Tampa Bay. He put up some pretty good numbers that half a season.
And they wanted to sign him and pay him like a low-level starter rather than backup money.
Oh, yeah. $15 million a year, right? Something like that?
Yeah, it's something ridiculous for a backup.
I think you have to throw Glennon in there, at least because, now we live in a world where if Geno Smith can't get it done in his rookie year for 8 games, he's outed. If you throw in Trubisky and you go 2-6 out of the gate with him, which any probably rookie quarterback, unless you're Andrew Luck would, you're already asking the question, are we moving on? Which I'm not a believer that a lot of these guys should be going in week 1, year 1, just because they went top 10.
No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. They should sit on the bench, learn the game a little bit, watch it, and then go in there. It's
amazing how the instant gratification world in which we live, because of the internet, it's almost transferred over to sports. There's been a lot of past successes, excluding Manning. He started right out of the gate, but Brady sat for a little. I mean, there's a few guys out there that have sat for a little.
Sat behind Drew Brees. Bledsoe. Brady sat behind Bledsoe.
Right. Rivers sat behind Brees. There's another one.
Yeah, and Rivers sat behind Brees. And that's why they're the way they are. Now, Manning had to play. Who did the Indianapolis have? They had Harbaugh, but I think Harbaugh was already gone by the time they drafted Manning.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's one of those, yeah. So if you were the Bears head coach or GM in a leadership position over there, you go with Glennon with conviction. And just curious, because obviously Howard is was an emergence, arguably the fantasy breakout player of the year at running back.
Oh God.
What kind of offense are you going 2 run and 1 pass? So you set up Glennon on 3rd and 6 or less, 3rd and 4 type situations, and you just kind of have ball control and work your way down the field, and then maybe the defense becomes opportunistic?
You can do that if you want, but you don't want to just set your offense just to be one way. Like Belichick does it best because he studies the other team and he goes, okay, here's how we're going to attack this defense.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's not, here's our game plan, here's what we do. It's like, here's where they're vulnerable, this we're going to do. They're really great against the pass, so we're going to run the shit out of it.
That is very true.
That's why you can never really count on any Patriot player except for like Gronk and Brady for fantasy.
That's so true. I mean, yeah, he'll go 30, like you said, he'll go 35 rushes and then he'll go 5 wide, 40 throws the next week. That is fascinating that more coaches don't try to adapt that. Just like as a stand-up, you play to your audience, you play to your team, you play to the opponent.
Yeah, I can't do all my. I got hired to do Fleet Week San Diego. They want me to do like 15, 20 minutes at the enlisted luncheon. But awesome. I can't do the same jokes that I could do at the club or at a bar show or something like that. You have to adjust your style to win.
Well said.
So if you have a team, that's the only reason why Minnesota didn't do so well, or earlier Detroit wasn't doing so well because they only had one thing that they could do. They could, like Minnesota could only run with Adrian Peterson.
Yeah,
Detroit could only pass the ball to Calvin Johnson. That was all they had. I mean, Megatron. Dude, my names are off today.
No, you're on point, my friend. You are on point. It's interesting you bring up Minnesota. Just a couple more jams on the mic here. I'll let you go. Why don't they bring in another quarterback? I mean, Teddy Bridge is not playing again. I mean, Bradford, I guess you can give him a full season, a full off season going in, but I don't see why it would have hurt to bring in
would be a great fit in Minnesota.
You said
Colin
Sammy B?
Kaepernick would be
Oh, Colin Kaepernick. That's what I was leading up to. That's a great thought. It's pressure free because they have their franchise quarterback who's coming back in the next season. Hopefully, it's just a great Costco sample there for 16 games.
Yeah, exactly. Why is he not in that? I don't know. Bradford's going to end up getting hurt. He gets hurt all the time. So, he got lucky last year. His numbers are probably going to be better this year. He's going to have more protection. He knows the system better. So expect his numbers to go up. But I think after like week 10 or week 11, he's going to be out.
Man. Yeah.
I just have that gut feeling.
You got some good takes today, man. Good takes. I appreciate you coming on and talking some football. We'll have to do it again. I mean, any last thoughts on Cutler, the ex-Bear, now officially the quarterback on a 1-year tenure in Miami?
It's last thoughts about Cutler Gase. They're going to do well this year. I would say they make the playoffs.
Wow.
I would say they make the playoffs. Cutler throws for about 35 to 38. He might even get 4 with receivers. But he's got a running game. He's got the weapons they need, and I believe that he's going to do well.
And he's always loved his tight end and Julius Thomas. Hey, AFC East, any competition to ruffle the feathers of the freaking Patriots on a fast track to the AFC Championship again. I mean, Robert Kraft already set up 2 home game playoff tickets for season ticket owners for the Patriots. I'm going to call that potentially a new Madden curse if they don't get there. The audacity, Mike.
I did not know he did that.
He did that. I saw it on the herd. They already printed them out. They're getting ready for an AFC Championship home game, and it's August.
Fuck. Jimmy Garoppolo better be good because that means Brady's getting hurt. He jinxed the old man.
Oh, hey, something to note. If someone goes down, we will. You heard it here first, baby.
That's it. Brady's going down this year.
There it is. Early. All right, Mike.